Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of Trailhead explanations. In this video, we are going to cover unit Epix Web Services from the module Epix Integration Services. This is the last unit of this module. We have covered the previous 3 units. You can check out their solution on our channel in playlist section. We have a playlist by the same name as that of this module, Epix Integration Services. I've uploaded all the 3 unit solution over there. So for this video, we are simply going to create an Apex class account manager, and the class will have a method get account, which will be returning account type of object. And this object will contain the ID and name of the account as well as the related contact ID and name. Then we will also create the test class by the name of account manager test. And we will also make sure that this test class has 100% code coverage. Before proceeding further, make sure you have this remote site setting already in your org, which we have done in our first unit challenge. Now, without wasting any time, let's quickly launch our Trailhead Playground and open our developer console, which I have already done over here. So what I'll do is I'll create a new Apex class by the name which has been given over here, which is account manager. I will simply just write this name and click OK. Now for any Apex class to be defined as an Apex REST service, we must annotate it with REST resource. So I will use this here and provide the URL mapping as well in the brackets. So URL mapping will be specified in a single inverted comma. So I'm going to simply just paste it here. I have already copied it. And this is supposed to be like this. So accounts /star/contacts. So here star specify that this can be replaced by anything, but for our challenge, we will typically be using account ID to replace this star. We will see how this has been implemented further in this video. Now, to expose any Apex class as a web service, it is necessary that it has global scope so that the outside user can have access to it. We will also enforce with sharing for this class. Now, creating a method inside this, it will also be of global scope, static, and the return type is going to be account. The method name, I will simply just copy it from here, get account, and paste it. Now I will create the method open and closing, but before moving on further with the method, I will first annotate it that it is HTTP get method. Now in the method, I simply will create REST request type of variable, instance variable. So I'm going to name it as request, and here I'm going to assign a class object, which is class is REST context. And here in this, there are 2 objects, request and response. So I will be using request as we are using HTTP GET. We are fetching the data, we are requesting the data. So I will be using request here and I will simply terminate it. Now, I simply want the account ID. So once I have the account ID, it is very easy for me to fetch the related contacts associated to that account, right? So we will simply be using string type of variable, and the variable I'm going to name it as account ID. Now for this, I'll be using this request variable, instance variable. There is one attribute request URI, which will give me the URL. And from this URL, I'm going to filter out the account ID. So I'm going to use another string function, which is substring between. Now this function has 2 values separated by a comma. So the first value is the start value and the last value, second value is the ending value. Now between this start and end value, whatever comes here, for our case, it is ID. So the ID between the first and last value is stored in this account ID. So I will just simply copy this from here, copy this and paste it in this start value. Now for the end value, I will copy this contact with the slash and paste it here in the end value space. So now whatever comes in between these two start and end value, which is probably for our case is account ID, will be stored in this account ID variable. Now, the next thing we have to do is using this account ID, I can simply fetch my contacts list. So I will take up a variable account and name it as results. Select, I will use the query select ID, comma name from account, where ID is equal to using binding variable. I will assign this variable here, which contains the ID. And I'm also going to put limit 1 because we are using single object variable. So I will be using limit 1. Now, in order to fetch the related contacts, I will simply pass in a query select ID, comma name from here. I'm going to use the relationship name between account and contact, which is contacts. Now I will simply return this results and terminate it. So this is the simple epics class that we have in order to proceed with this challenge. I will save this. So I hope there are no errors. Let it save. So yeah, there are no errors and this class successfully got saved. Now, the next is we have to create a test class. But before that, there is some concept that I want to show. If you guys want to skip this part, you can skip because it has no effect on the challenge. It is just for the explanation part. So I'm going to show you how we can use this URL mapping. So basically, we are using URL mapping over here so that the third party system can access whatever data is there in Salesforce by using this URL that we have provided here. So it is basically for the third party to access Salesforce org data. So we are going to have a third party tool, which is Workbench. So I will simply go to Workbench Salesforce, select this first link, and here we are using developer org, so production is fine. Agree all the terms and conditions. Click on login with Salesforce. Now here, just click on this utilities and select REST Explorer. Now when you will go here, just remove this data version 53, and here just simply type Apex REST. And after this, we are going to provide the URL which we have created, the custom URL which we have created here in our Apex class. So I will simply just copy this and paste it here in the workbench. Now accounts is fine. I told you the star needs to be replaced by with account ID. So I will go to my org and select any of the account that I have. Here I have one account, Dickinson PLC, and there is one contact related to this account. I will copy this account ID and paste it here. So this is the URL that I'm going to use to fetch the data from Salesforce org. And you can also see that we are using get here. There are various methods, post, patch, delete, head. And we are using get as we have specified in our Apex class that we are getting the data HTTP get. Now, if I'll just execute this, this is going to fetch data from my Salesforce org and Dickinson PLC. It is giving me ID and name. Now in contacts, it is going to give me Andy Young, which is 1. Total size is 1 because there was only one account contact related to this account. And the ID and name for this particular contact. It has also specified the related account ID. So this is how this Apex class is working. It is using the URL which we specified. It comes into this class, do all the logic that we have here. Basically, we are fetching the data of account and contact. So it is just returning us the data in the third party system. So this was the simple concept that I wanted to show you guys over here. So next, moving on, we have a test class. So for test class, what we have to do is we have to create a test class by the name account manager test. So I will go to developer console, copying this, create a new Apex class by the same name and click OK. I'm going to tell my runtime that this is a test class and make this as private. Now, before doing the actual logic of test class, I'm going to create a setup method. So in that setup method, what I'll be doing is simply create a test record for my contact and account, because this is the basic requirement that is there to be fulfilled for this test class. So what I'll do is I will create a count and contact record. So for that, I'll create a helper method static. The return type, I only want ID of count and contact. So I'm going to make this data name as make data and simply open and closing brackets. Now here, simple, I'll create instance of account, and instance variable name is account record is equals to new account. And mandatory field I'm going to pass, which is name. So name is test record. Simply insert this record, account record. Now next is I have to create a related contact for this. So contact record instance that I'm going to create is equals to new contact. And the mandatory field that I'm going to pass here is last name, but other than that, I'm going to pass name. So name, I'm going to take John, and last name is mandatory field. So I'm going to pass last name as Smith. And I'm going to associate it with the account which I just created above. And I'm going to use this variable account record ID to associate this contact with that particular account. And simply, I will just insert this contact record as well. Now, since ID is the return type, so I'm going to use this account record dot ID, and simply I will return this also. So this is the helper method. I will just specify over here as well that this is a helper method. Now for the main method, what I'm going to do is I will just again specify that OK is test. And here I'm going to take static, nothing is going to be returned. And the method name I'm going to give, I hope there is nothing, no method name is given in the challenge, so we can take up on our own. So I will simply copy this get account and write test here. Now the next is I will first of all fetch the account ID in the variable of type ID, record ID is equals to, I will assign this make data method here. So this make data will return ID, and this ID is going to be assigned in the variable record ID of type ID. Now next is if we go back to our Apex class, we have to find at the end, we want this request URI, right? So what we will do is we will create this request URI, and then we will, then everything will work fine and it will fetch data on its own. Now what we are going to do is I will first create REST request instance and name it as request is equals to new REST request. Now using this instance variable, I will create a request URL or URI. So I'm going to use this request variable dot, there is method request URI here, and simply I'm going to assign a URL over here, which we will find going back to our Trailhead account. I'll scroll up, and here you can find this URL. We have to copy this and paste it over here. Now there are some small changes that need to be mentioned. So as you can see, this service Apex REST. This is the same as we have implemented in Workbench. We saw that service Apex REST was there. We need to change it to account, the same name which we have provided here. So I will just simply copy this and paste it over here. And record ID is fine. We provided record ID. We need to concatenate contact as well. So I will copy this from here and paste it here. So we are simply creating a test URL like that we created in our workbench. So this is the URL that we have. Now simply I have to tell the system that this is uh, a get method. So I will say get terminated. Then next is I will assign everything to rest context dot request object. This request I will assign it here. Now I have this. Now the next thing, everything will work fine in Apex class, right? I have this value. This will be assigned over here and it will automatically fetch. We have provided this request URI. So this is going to work fine and coverage will be 100%. So now the last thing I have to do is account, this dot account. Using this variable, I will be storing the response I'm getting from my Apex class. Simply I'm calling here my Apex class dot method get account. Now, the last thing that I have to do is make system.asserts. So here I'm going to say that this account is not supposed to be null because we are providing data in our helper method. And another assert that I'm going to make over here is on the name of account, which is test record as expected value. And in the actual value, whatever comes from this class response name. So this is the simple Apex test class that we have. This is the helper method, and this is the actual test method. So we are going to simply save it. So this is the Apex class. This is the test class. Now we are going to run this. Going to test, always run asynchronously and run all. So hopefully it should pass all the test cases. It has passed and we can see there is 100% code coverage. Now going back to our Trailhead, we will just check our challenge. By clicking on this button, fingers crossed, it should pass all the test cases. It is taking some time. Let's just wait. There you go. This challenge has been completed. Module has been also wrapped up. So that's all for in this video. I'll call it a day. Thank you.